say let's get straight into it and maybe also explain the title and where it comes from. And
probably it came originally from the old pirate.
Exactly.
Pirate days. Yeah.
Exactly.
But we listen to a lot of like Irish country music or pop music when we are in the studio, when we're working.
It's a little bit the theme of the exhibition. But also I think in a more metaphorical way, walk the plank for us is an expression from which oneself derives almost its creativity and its walk of life in a way. You either choose to walk the plank, to go the more difficult direction in life and in also creative arts, let's call it, or you may also be pushed to walk this life that you almost didn't choose, but in a way manifested itself for oneself as a creative or not. Actually, I think it doesn't need to be just on a creative basis.
I would say every person has his or her own plank to walk in life, private, business, whatever. Many different planks that we have to walk. Probably every person has walked more than one plank in life. To us, it was such an interesting concept to have like the downside, like what is below the plank that we're facing. We're trying to not fall down.
Exactly.
Right? You're just trying to manage, trying to survive. Not necessarily like trying to strive for success, but just surviving. In our case,
exactly.
So I would say let's get straight into the first pieces.
Maybe we should start right here. For a second.
So we have two smaller works, and then two bigger works that are on the wall, and then we have sculptural objects.
Exactly.
This is my personal favorite, by the way.
Exactly. We'll get to my personal favorite in a second. It's very clear that we're again using primarily leather, but this time we wanted to experiment with techniques and different material compositions that we hadn't experienced before. In this case, this is leather mixed with latex, with liquid latex on top, that gives it this very like fleshy structure almost in a way.
Yeah, below the latex we burned some of the leather hide to create sort of this like darker optic, which gives it like a really nice contrast, I would say, to the yellow as well.
It's very tactile in a way. It's very bright and it's very much in your face. But I think hopefully it has a good balance in all that.
Yeah, absolutely. With the structure, which really, as you said, looks like flesh. But then you have this grotesque yellow color, which almost appears to be wet, which is so interesting when you touch it. And although, by the way, we always encourage everybody to touch the artwork.
Yeah, I would say let's move on to basically the parallel work. I think you're gonna see this more also in the bigger works, that we almost created in a way a duality based upon the color scheme and also the materials. In this case, this is all vintage military fabric from different sacks, right?
So this was a sea sack, which was used by the German military, and this right part was a cover for a gun. From far away, they probably appear to be very similar, but structure-wise, they're very different because the gun holster is like very thick and sturdy.
Furthermore, we covered one side with wax, also a new material I think for both of us, and then the good old expanding foam.
Yes, so we have two bigger works that we wanted to show you again in the same color scheme that we had with the previous smaller ones. Here again we have sort of a patchwork design coming from the military fabrics. Again, different materials. This is also part of the gun holster. And then we merged that with a perforated leather in sort of an off-white color that dirtied a bit. Have wax on here as well, lots of burn marks, construction foams as well. Now we're coming to the birthmark.
The birthmark in the most literal sense, because this was the first work that we did for the exhibition. For me personally, it's still by far the work that captures me emotionally the most.
So the yellow leather is deer leather, so those are two skins basically, because deer is not that big. It is the flesh side, so the usual side is sort of a brown suede, but the flesh side is yellow. And actually I got this as a gift, and this has been laying around somewhere for like over 10 years, and that's why all the dirt that you see on there is natural, so we didn't make it more dirty, so you see stains and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's the main material, the yellow one, and then we have sort of those translucent parts, which is a rabbit, and that is the raw skin of rabbit, so it has not been processed yet. Yeah, and it's super stiff and feels super odd, but it is transparent and it's so interesting. You could also put a light behind that and you would see through. Yeah. All right, so we are moving on to one of the final pieces and one of the bigger pieces, which are more sculptural, and it's called the SKINNOSH, which again is a nod to one of the Irish songs that we're listening to in the studio, which is actually called the SKINNOSH. And that is sort of again a reference to walking the plank.
The almost fiberglass-ish material extends its way to the other pieces almost, to try to create a narrative between these works, I would say.
Right, and here we have the arm of that same person basically, which we covered in construction foam, black leather paint mixed with water, gauze as well,
and latex.
Lots of latex as well, which really ties in together well with the other yellowish pieces.
Yeah.
And then at the bottom here we have a small bag that is leather, of course, and then covered in bitumen, which we then heated up to create this texture.
Exactly. And here we have basically the missing link to all of it, the leg. The missing limb. The leg, painted black, and then also covered in bitumen aluminum tape, which we then heated up, which took forever. But
we actually had to sit outside to do this because
the fumes are
toxic as hell. Holy shit. So yeah, and it has the exact same covering as the bag that you just saw.
Exactly.
So again, a reference, and then the gauze that we have used on all pieces as well.
Exactly. And I think one final word to this, I would call it installation almost, is that the materials used are almost to enhance the feeling of something being, yes, very bodyish like and very human-ish in a way. But the material, being that it almost looks like it was burned, or actually literally burned, or it almost looks like some sort of disease. It bridges, I think, the gap between the sculpture works and the works on canvas. Yeah.
Right, so I wanted to show a couple of pieces that I brought to Berlin with me. This is the big shopper bag that you might already be familiar with. Culata on the one side, and then horse shoulder on the other side. Then you have the vintage military locks as handle, as well as a shoulder strap. This is what it looks like. Lots of room, a lot of stuff, great textured leather, aged hardware, and fully hand sewn. Then I brought a couple of card holders with me. So we have different colors of culata, this beautiful burgundy color. Then we have a lovely gray, as well as the classic black. So all of them are of course hand sewn and then wet molded, which takes about 24 hours to dry in a shape, and then you have to mold them by hand. So those were the culata ones. I have another culata one which does not have any texture, but this is one of my favorites because it's full shell, and the texture of this, like, it feels amazing, even though it looks super clean. So those are the culata versions. Then we have a shark option. So this is shark skin, which is super strong but a thin material. Has some wax applied as well. And then also matching to this exhibition here, we have one that is covered in construction foam. And it looks like it's not that strong, but it's actually rock solid. And I think it feels really nice in hand. So it's a cool gadget, I would say. So many different options, many different versions. Right, and then the last one of the hand molded ones, this is, I think I call this the artist card holder, which is basically reverse leather and then has some paint on it. Beautiful structure as well. Right, so those are the hand molded ones, and then we have two one-of-one card holders, which are rubber dipped. So both are black leather, and then you have one with red rubber and one with gray. Several coats, layers of rubber, and basically has a card slot at the top, at the front, one at the back, and then a bigger one in the middle. All right, and then to finish it off, we have three different utility keychain clips, all culata in different colors, again black, gray, and burgundy. So then I brought a couple of belts as well. Two main colorways. You have the hand-painted white one, which will age beautifully. If you look at mine, for example, I've had mine for about a year. You can see like beautiful patina, some aging going on. So this is the white one, and then we have the classic black one as well with the beautiful texture. Very thick and juicy buffalo leather. And then looking at the buckles, those come from Hamburg, from a small manufacturer, and then I treat them to have this like aged effect. Of course, fully hand sewn. Available in all length. So this is a shorter one for women, and then you can have like super long black belts. And then last but not least, we have a small shoulder bag made out of black horse leather. So really to keep the essentials, you have two bigger slots with Riri metal zips, as well as a smaller space here in the back, riveted by hand, fully hand sewn of course.